There's no one like I'm from their claw. There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable.
You could see him hitting him in the love handles, so to speak. You know, you could see the like vibration on the slow. So he got
He
a couple
absorbs it. He absorbs it with the love handles.
He does. That's his secret power. You don't feel it.
He looks like you can have
I
a
love
terror as
Shane.
well.
I absolutely love Shane. Oh, he's brilliant. He's brilliant on interviews and stuff. He's always like his right-hand man whenever he walks in the ring with Tyson. I love his interviews before and after. He splashed water at dillian Whyte. Hello and welcome to another episode of Another Round podcast. I am Mike Thomas. I'm here with my co-host Hamza Hanif. Today we're going to be going over the huge fight Tyson Fury versus dillian Whyte, and we're also going to be covering the huge fight of the weekend of Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, and a couple of other news and fights coming up as well. How you doing, mate?
I'm great, Mike. How are you? Thanks very much for having me.
Good. So let's get into it, shall we? What a huge fight that was. It kind of lived up to all my expectations. I thought it was an incredible finish from Tyson Fury. I was not expecting that, actually, the way the fight was going. So what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, before we get into the actual fight itself, like I just want to talk about like the actual event.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a good event in the sense of 94,000 people at Wembley, and I love a good ring walk. And honestly, Tyson Fury recently have just been top notch.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an image of Tyson Fury. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's him sitting on the throne before he starts to do that mad run down to the ring.
Yeah.
And honestly, bro, it's like he's got the whole crowd behind him, and that has got to be one of the most iconic photos of modern day boxing. It's amazing.
I saw that was on the BT Sport Instagram page. I think I saw that. Yeah, no, he actually lost his head in that. He was supposed to do something else. I don't know what he was supposed to do, but he completely lost it when he saw there's like 94,000 people there, the atmosphere, everyone singing Sweet Caroline. I thought it was incredible. I thought the build-up was incredible. I liked the video that he made before it, and he's just talking and he's kind of like very patriotic. I thought it was a great build-up.
I loved his gloves. Talking about patriotic, I loved his gloves. Like I immediately went online after and try to find some gloves.
You can buy them. He signs them and puts it on his Tyson Fury merchandise thing, but you can buy them. But yeah, he actually couldn't. He didn't know what to do. He had some kind of plan, and he kind of lost his head and just sort of like went round the chair and just thought, I'll just sit in the chair for a minute, and just stayed in the chair.
But it looked so cool. Good though.
It looked cool. It looked cool. And I liked the music. I liked him coming out to It Was All a Dream, Biggie Smalls, and all the other songs. It was good, mate. It was very good. The atmosphere is huge. Obviously, that's the second largest attendance for a boxing match. Another one, I think the largest was 127,000 in Mexico, but that's the biggest in Europe. So, I mean, that was huge. I can't imagine that getting topped unless it's like Fury versus Joshua somehow, some way.
Yeah.
He comes back from retirement.
I don't even know if they could have more than 94. I'm trying to think of a stadium in England, or even in the UK where they could hold that many. So I think they might match it, but I don't think they'll beat it for a while anyway.
Well, Adele sang in 2017 to 98,000 at Wembley Stadium. So if and I don't know what the World Cup attendance was when England won the World Cup, but
yeah,
that was a long time ago, but that was probably 100,000 plus.
Yeah, that was pre-health and safety though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, you raised a good point. I love the ring walks. I even like dillian Whyte's ring walk. I thought that was pretty cool. I always like his ring walks anyway, with his like wolf, like the long wolf.
Yeah, I do love that when he starts to howl and stuff. Yeah.
I was kind of like disappointed with the undercard, but actually there was a couple of good fights in there. I thought Nick Ball and Isaac Lowe was a surprisingly really good fight.
That was a fantastic fight.
I'll tell you what, I've become a new fan of Nick Ball. He came out like a little Scouse fireball. He's literally in his name. He's 5'2", that guy, and balls like King Kong.
proper little savage as well.
Yeah.
Like he just never
Yeah.
ever let up the pressure in
Yeah.
that fight. It was
And
insane.
you know what? Because the whole thing was set up. Obviously, Isaac Lowe was supposed to be the favorite. They kind of announced him while they were announcing him and bigging him up. They cut to Nick Ball's face. I could see in his eyes. He was like, I knew he was going to come for it, and he definitely didn't let anyone down. I think he's had now 15 fights and 8 knockouts, and he's probably one to watch. I'm going to look out for him from now on because I was really impressed with him. He was really good. And obviously, we talked about David Adelaide in the last episode. I think he never really got out of second gear because it looked like, I mean, no offense to Chris Healy, but he just looked way too comfortable. He didn't really look like he was in any kind of danger. And I think that he needs to step up his next fight because I think he's ready now for a step up. I know he's only had 8 fights, whatever he's had, but he looked really good as well. Bit disappointed with Tommy Fury. I mean, he said all these things about Jake Paul, how he doesn't need to train for Jake Paul, and I don't need to train for Jake Paul. I'll just show up and I'll beat him. I don't know if he will. After watching
it's mad. Tommy can't really fight very well. It is. He's got power and athleticism and stuff like that, but
they gave him like all the looks, all of the and then. When they came to pouring in talent for boxing, he's kind of like he's not got as much as Tyson Fury.
It's mad as well because I reckon John Fury could have a tear up. I reckon even his brother Shane, he looks like he could have a tear up as well.
I absolutely love Shane. He's brilliant. He's brilliant on interviews and stuff. He's always like his right hand man whenever he walks in the ring with Tyson. I love his interviews before and after. He splashed water at Dillian Whyte. I don't know if you saw that in the 5th round. He was getting so annoyed that he just because Dillian was we'll come to that in a minute, but Dillian was doing some kind of like left some kind of a little bit kind of naughty things, and Shane was getting so annoyed. He was like throwing water from the corner.
So my thoughts on the actual fight itself.
Main event, yeah.
I genuinely thought that, and I've said for a long time that I thought Dillian Whyte would be a really live fight for Tyson Fury. I thought he was going to be a lot more aggressive in his approach. I like how he kind of came out southpaw, but then after that, and you could tell it kind of made Fury a little bit uncomfortable as well because I think they've been training a lot for the left hook, and then obviously the left hook was the lead hand all of a sudden, so it was like whoa. But and then it was funny as well because Fury came out southpaw in the 2nd round, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But I just expected Whyte to be a lot more explosive and aggressive and push because he's a smaller man, so he has to sort of bob and weave and get in there. And he was unable to do that. And obviously, a large part of that is due to how skillful Tyson Fury is and how big he is as well. It's like he's 6'9". He knows how to use that length, and it's just like I understand he's probably fighting the greatest heavyweight of his time, so I'm not going to bag on him too much. Yeah. But I just thought like one of the reasons he got caught with the shot the way that he did was because he was just so predictable in his attacks. Like he was just plodding forward. He was slow of foot. He wasn't particularly fast of hand. He wasn't particularly accurate. He was doing a lot of dirty stuff as well. Like he was, he was grabbing him, wrestling with him, and it's like it's all well and good to rough your opponent up. It is a fight after all, but it's like when you're not able to build any success off of that, it just looks like you're being you're just frustrated and you're losing your head, which it did look like for like at moments in that fight.
Here's the thing.
Overall, I was disappointed. Overall, my takeaway with it was I wasn't disappointed in the fight. I was disappointed in Dillian Whyte, his approach to the fight. I thought, man, like you've not promoted the fight at all. You've came in with this sort of attitude. That last week he played ball, but fight week he played ball. But after, he didn't really participate. And then to come in, I think he's gonna look back with a lot of regret. I think Tyson Fury landed one of the best uppercuts I've ever seen in my life. But I think Dillian Whyte gave that to him on a plate. Like he just kept walking forward, and eventually someone as good as Fury is going to crack you with a clean one.
Here's the thing, mate. I know because you bigged him up so much in the last episode that you were disappointed, but I actually think I liked the way he started the fight. I thought it was very clever, him coming out of southpaw. I thought he started it quite well. He got some kind of joy with the body. He got a few body punches to Tyson Fury, which you could see him hitting him in the love handles, so to speak. You know, you could see the like vibration on the slow. So he got a couple of them.
He absorbs it with the love handles.
He does. That's his secret power. I don't feel it, but yeah, he got some joy with that. He got some to the body. And you know what it is? It's not that Dillian Whyte performed badly. It's just that Tyson Fury made him look average. And Dillian Whyte's not average as a fighter, as a heavyweight. He's not.
No, he's not
average as he was made to look. It's just that Tyson Fury was that good that night that he was getting frustrated. You know, he went to try and headbutt Tyson Fury because he got so frustrated. I think it was like round 4 or 5, and he actually got himself a cut above his eye. So he actually tried to headbutt Tyson Fury and cut himself. So he was like bleeding on his own head.
But you can't lose your discipline like that. Like it's all good to be rough and rugged.
He's a frustrating fighter. I mean, I don't know because I've never fought him, and I don't ever want to. But the awkwardness of the height, right, of Tyson Fury, you know. Yeah. I mean, Dillian Whyte is still a big man. He's what, 6'4", 6'5"? Yeah. No, 6'4".
He looks tiny. It looks tiny next to Tyson Fury.
Tiny, and he was getting frustrated. And so when the clinches, he was like trying to putting the elbows in. He was headbutting. He was rabbit punching. I saw him in the corner. He was rabbit punching around the back of Tyson Fury's head. So for him to come out and then complain and say, oh, you know, he uppercutted me and then he pushed me down. Well, I'm sorry, but that you can't really say that after you've just been shoving your elbows in someone's head and trying to headbutt someone, and then also rabbit punching. These are all rabbit punches, obviously not a lot legal, and as far as I know, you're not supposed to really use your elbows. So, you know, you can't really complain. Here's my thing as well, right? And you probably, I don't know how you feel about this, but I watched his interview after the fight and post fight. He said, you know, I was worried that the referee was going to continue the fight for Dillian because I knew that I was going to have to lay him out again and I was going to put some more damage to him. So
you saw Tyson Fury going like this, and you felt that in the moment.
Yeah. So for him, in my opinion, he's thinking, I want to knock him out good and push him down so that he's not coming back up because I don't want to have to keep doing it to him again, you know, because he mentioned brain damage. He said, these are the type of hits, you know, if I keep hitting now, I don't want to seriously hurt the guy. Because he was, let's be honest, it wasn't like he was fine after he got uppercutted. He was uppercutted and he completely got knocked out. And when I watched it back, it's not like his head, because of the push, his head bounced off the canvas. His shoulders hit the floor first. So he was already out, mate. He was already out. And then when he got up, he was still trying to get to his feet and he was wobbling all over the place.
Yeah. He was in no fit condition to continue that fight. Like he was in no fit condition to continue that fight.
Tyson Fury is just so good with his strategy that was actually the first uppercut he threw all night. That he waited until the 6th round. He actually told his brother Shane, I don't know if you saw this, but he said, I'm going to have him out next round after the 5th round when we're in the corner. And he actually was kind of softening him up with the 1-2, with the jab cross. He was softening him up. He was getting a lot of joy with the check left hook, and he was getting to him with that. And you could see he was softening him up. He was softening him up. And
he was having some joy with the straight right as well. Yeah. If you noticed, like he kept cracking him with that shot, and I was thinking, like, why isn't Dillian moving his head or like trying to offset this? You know what I mean? A little bit.
Dillian was very aggressive, was getting very frustrated, and he was coming forward, and he gave it his best. You know, I think his plan went out the window a little bit because I think he got a bit frustrated. But yeah, he waited for the perfect time. He saw Dillian's, you know, his hands away, and then he just absolutely leathered him, mate. Absolutely. He didn't even catch him clean. He didn't even catch him clean. He just caught him to the side of his chin, enough for his head to give his head a wobble, and he was straight down, mate. And it was it was a perfect.
It's just that seems to be the Dillian Whyte kryptonite. You know, that punch from
That's a problem
underneath
for him now.
that he doesn't see.
Yeah,
He's been knocked out with it 3 times, and I completely agree with you. I think Tyson Fury probably picked that shot all night, and it was amazing the way he only threw it the one. He only needed to time it one time for it to connect and for it to do damage. Nobody is saying that Tyson Fury isn't a power puncher after that, man.
Yeah, and I think he's won a lot of support after that. I think here's the thing for Dillian Whyte: if he faces, if Joshua, we imagine, we don't know, but we imagine he probably loses his next fight to Usyk. He then fights Dillian Whyte in another fight. Dillian Whyte is going to be worried because Joshua has got a great uppercut. And Dillian Whyte's now been knocked out 3 times. First one Joshua Povetkin and Tyson Fury from the same punch. So, but I hope he comes back. I do like Dillian Whyte a lot, and I hope he comes back stronger. I'd love to see him fight Wilder. I think that'd be a great fight. Based off his performance against Tyson Fury, I think everyone's going to write Dillian Whyte off, but I think Tyson Fury was just that good. I think he's in his prime. I think he's so good right now, Tyson Fury.
Yeah. No, I don't think he's ever been. I think he's reached his peak as an actual fighter. Not like, forget all the star power and everything like that, like as an actual fighter, I don't think he's never looked this good. That was one thing that struck me as well, like how confident he looked. Like the way when he ran, like I mentioned it earlier in the video, like as he was running down to the ring, and then even when he was taking his shirt off and stuff, like just getting ready to walk towards the center. I've never ever seen him look that confident before, And when he was doing it against Wilder, there were elements of it that were real, but there was also elements of it that looked, to me anyway, and this is my take on it, that it looked like he was trying to fake it till you make it. So like, if I act in a certain way, I'm gonna kind of go from that.
That first fight with Wilder, he was so nervous, and he was doing as the Americans say, the herky jerky. He was doing the herky head, moving his head a lot, and he was very nervous the first fight. But obviously, he battered in the second fight, and then the third fight, I think, because of all the stuff that happened with his children and stuff, he didn't have enough time to train, but he didn't care because he already knew that he was going to win, and he obviously gave Wilder a lot more time. He obviously got knocked down twice in that third fight, but I feel like deep down he already knew he would win, and he was that confident going into the Dillian Whyte fight. He already knew he would win, to the fact that he's announcing his retirement, because he's like, I already know I'm going to win, right? So he already knows. Announce your retirement if you're not sure if you're going to win the fight.
Yeah. No, absolutely. He never. I very much doubt in his mind he ever thought he was going to lose this fight. I'm a massive fan of Dillian Whyte as well, but I didn't like the interview after the fight. I thought it was a bit ridiculous. Yeah, he took a push, but realistically, that was a mercy push, because if he'd have stepped back and cracked him again, it might have been a problem. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, and then even like you say, Tyson Fury's calling for him for the fight to be stopped, not because he wants to do what he wants and he can do. Like at that point, Dillian Whyte couldn't have defended himself against Tyson Fury. So realistically, if Tyson Fury was this horrible guy who, which is what Dillian Whyte kind of tried to portray him as in the Sky Sports interview, like he does whatever he wants and the Fury's getting their own way. If he was really that guy, and the referee did a terrible job and let you continue, he would have put him out. He would have put his lights out with the next combination that he threw. And let's imagine if he hadn't have pushed him, let's imagine if the referee had said, okay, you're fine to carry on, let's give you a couple more seconds. All he's going to do is going to do the same thing that he did to Deontay Wilder in the second fight. He's going to corner him into the ring. It'd be against the ropes, and he'd just be hailing down punches on him. Hailing down punches on him, and eventually he would go down again. It's because he wasn't able to even walk. His legs were wobbly. He was wobbling all over the place. He was, so it would have taken him a fair while to get over that first knockdown, and he wouldn't have had enough time. No, I had absolutely no problem with the stoppage. I had no problem at all with the stoppage.
But I really, really hope that he comes back for at least the unification, because I would love to see him fight the winner of Usyk Joshua. And I think
I'll be honest with you. I don't think he's done. Like, I think he might sit out for a
Tony
few
Tony,
years now.
he's like, oh yeah, I'm definitely never boxing again. I've been in it 20 years.
It doesn't feel like he's done.
And then straight after the fight, Francis Ngannou's in, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna have you. I'm gonna." And he's like, "I want to fight Francis Ngannou straight away." Like, if you're that bothered,
Fury's a fighter as well. Like he talks about there's other things that I want to do in life and stuff like that. And yeah, he might appear in the WWE and he might go on a victory tour and stuff like that. But like Fury's a fighter. Like even the next evolution, the next step is a crossover fight. It's not like, oh, we're gonna do a bake off. It's like, no, we're gonna punch each other for money with small gloves on. You know what I mean? Like, so he's not. Yeah. I don't believe he's done. You know.
Yeah, you know what though, as well, right? If he is, no, like he say, oh, it's an exhibition fight against Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou's a huge dude, massive guy with massive fucking arms. He's gonna go and he's gonna absolutely wail into Tyson Fury. Can't call it an exhibition though, can you? He's not gonna like, oh, just go easy on him. He's not. They're both gonna go at it. So I don't believe that it's going to be an exhibition. It's still going to be a fight. If you're wearing UFC gloves and you effectively do it in boxing rules, that's going to do more damage. That's going to do more damage. Yeah. UFC gloves are a lot smaller, aren't they? You don't have as much protection, so it's going to be almost a bare knuckle fight, to be honest. So
yeah. I'd actually be quite interested to see that. I think as a spectacle, I think it will be good.
I think he's just biding his time as well. He's like, oh, Joshua and Usyk are fighting allegedly 23rd of July. It might not even be 23rd of July because of the stuff that's going on in Ukraine. So we don't know if it's going to be then. He's probably like, oh, I'll just do a crossover fight and keep myself busy, see what happens. Because he knows that if Joshua somehow can pull off a win, it can get a knockout against Usyk, that's going to be the biggest payday of all time. Because you've got Joshua against Fury. It's going to outsell Dillian Whyte against Fury. It's going to probably be 98,000 at Wembley, if not 100,000. He's going to probably get 100 million. They'll probably get 100 million each because it's a unification. It's a unification fight, and everyone will want to watch that. That's going to be huge. So I know from listening to Paris Fury that he would come back for that. He's not going to make anywhere near as much money against Usyk because Usyk doesn't speak English. He's not quite the same draw as Joshua. He doesn't have the same following. But, I think he would definitely come back for that one.
Definitely. I don't know what he's going to do next, because I think Tyson Fury's the kind of bloke where he expect the unexpected. Like, we might see him diving off a top rope at SummerSlam or some shit, you know what I mean, next without even... Yeah, you know what I mean. But he's one of those types where he really could do anything, But
he'll be donning the Hulk Hogan like red overalls and the blonde wig, and he's going to be jumping down off the top rope.
Exactly.
That's what he wants to do. But
the thing is, it didn't feel like it was over, and like when you look at the comments and stuff from all the fans and everything like that. It doesn't feel like it's over. Like it does, and I think there's unfinished business, and maybe he doesn't feel like that, and we're all just idiots who really like, because maybe we just really want him in the sport, and that's why we're feeling like that. But it doesn't feel like it's over.
I think he's being, I honestly think he's being really smart, and I think he's taking he's taken one of Floyd Mayweather's playbooks out, where he's like announcing his retirement. By announcing my retirement, I'm getting rid of all the clingers on, the hangers on, the entourage that are trying to leech off me, right? He gets rid of them. He goes quiet for a few months, has some time with his family. Then he gets bored because he's going to be at home by himself with the kids, and he's going to get that desire to fight again. He want that thrill of the fight. And I think because he's retired, he's going to do the Mayweather thing where he's like, look, I'm calling the shots. Everybody wants me to fight. I'm only going to come back if I can fight Joshua for X amount of money, or Usyk, whoever it is. But obviously make more money against Joshua, whoever it is, and I'll fight for this amount. And that's what he's doing. He's doing the Floyd Mayweather thing, because Floyd Mayweather made he didn't always make that much money until the end of his career. You know, when he started, look, I'll only fight XYZ for this amount, and people were happy to pay it because they wanted to see him fight. So I think that's what he's going to do. I think that's how he's playing it, which you can't knock him.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah. Another thing as well we were talking. I heard somebody talking about how do you mark Tyson Fury in terms of the greatest ever heavyweights? How do you see him compared to all of the kind of previous heavyweights of?
Okay. Yeah, I've seen this as well. Okay. So I don't rank him very highly, to be honest. Hear me out.
Yeah.
I think in a fight, he beats all of them, right? Okay. Aside from maybe Lennox Lewis. Okay. But I don't think of beating Dillian Whyte, Vladimir Klitschko, and Wilder, I don't think that puts you ahead of Foreman. I don't think that puts you ahead of Ali. I don't think that puts you ahead of Lewis. I don't think that puts you ahead of, you know, like all these legends of the sport. Like I'm not saying he's not in that conversation. He's definitely top 5 or whatever. But I don't even think, and this is going to be really, like, this is probably going to make me sound really terrible. I don't even think he's the best heavyweight to come out of Britain. I think the best heavyweight to come out of Britain is Lennox Lewis. However, I think he might beat Lennox Lewis in a fight. But Lennox Lewis was unified champion. Like Lennox Lewis defended it. You know, obviously Tyson Fury's unbeaten and Lennox Lewis lost. But yeah,
Lennox Lewis had a lot more fights. Lennox Lewis had maybe.
Yeah. By the way, just to clear that up, that's not me being a hater. That's not me hating on Tyson Fury. I'm a massive Tyson Fury fan. Yeah. Especially after the way he ended Dillian Whyte like that. And by the way, I think he beats Ali in a fight. I think he beats Fraser in a fight. I think he beats all these giants in a fight because of his skill, because of his size, because of his attributes. I think he beats these guys in a fight. I think the only person out of the people I've just named who would stand a chance against him is Lennox Lewis. But I don't think he's as decorated as those guys. And I don't think his legend is as big as those guys.
So here's the thing, right? You mentioned a very good point. Tyson Fury's size, okay? So are we talking about shrinking Tyson Fury down to make everybody same size, right? Because obviously previous years, the average height has been smaller. People are only getting taller as human evolution, right? Because let's say Muhammad Ali, for example. Muhammad Ali at the time was a big guy, but he's like he's actually like 6'2". He wasn't that much.
He'd be like a cruiserweight now. He'd be like a cruiserweight.
Right. So he's 6'2". You know, people like Ernie Shea was like 6 foot. Even if you go all the way back, you know, these guys were like 5'7". Rocky Marciano.
Mike Tyson. I know Tyson's an anomaly, but he's the size of a middleweight.
Yeah.
Height wise.
Mike Tyson, 5'10". And if you go back to Rocky Marciano, all the way back to him, he was like 5'8", 5'9", or whatever he was. He was a small guy. But at the time, he was obviously, you know, average height, you know, normal size or above average for that time. So are we talking about shrinking everyone down so they're all the same? Because that way I would say, definitely Tyson Fury is not on the same levels like Muhammad Ali or Foreman or these guys. Because in the 60s and 70s, you had a lot of talent, a lot of big, heavy hitters, Ernie Shavers, George Foreman, Muhammad Ali. These guys were all huge, heavy hitters and had a lot of talent, and they were all fighting each other. And because of all the commercial elements and all the contracts, and that is now, people are turned off to boxing because the best aren't always fighting the best, and people are so worried about losing their, undefeated record. Because back then, no one cared. I think Muhammad Ali had like 3 or 4 losses. All the best fighters. Lennox Lewis had 4 or 5, even though Lennox Lewis avenged a lot of his losses, like Oliver McCall and whoever else he lost to, Hassan Rahman. He was so annoyed about Hassan Rahman, came back and battered him.
They had that little wrestling match in the TV studio in the build-up to the rematch. It was nuts.
So if we're going to go off basic size, you got to think about Tyson Fury's got the biggest reach in boxing. I mean, Even Nikolai Valuev was like 7'2", right? 7'1". I remember when he fought David Haye, right? And David Haye was looked like a little schoolboy trying to punch with a sixth former. So it was like, like in American terms, it would be like a grade 8 versus like a grade 2 fighter. He was just jumping. He was literally trying to jump up. And David Haye is 6'3". Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's a big bloke.
Midget. David Haye look up that fight. David Haye versus Nikolai Valuev. Nikolai Valuev, he was basically at nipple height the entire fight. And he looked like a big hairy bear, and he was just grappling, and he was sweating all over David Haye. He was having no joy. But Nikolai Valuev has the same reach as Tyson Fury. They both have an 85-inch reach. So at the end of the day, it's like, he's just so difficult to fight. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if we're going off, it's hard to say that Tyson Fury, wouldn't do well against all of these guys just because of he's so awkward. He's so unpredictable, and he's just got so much to his game. But I do agree with what you were saying as well. The fighters of like the 60s and 70s, and the talent of people like Joe Louis. Joe Louis is an underrated fighter. He was amazing fighter.
I can't remember how tall Joe Louis was, actually, because we were talking about height. I'm sure he's under 6 foot.
I think he was about 6 foot, yeah. So it wasn't even that, it was big for the time again, but it was the 1950s and that, and people weren't even that tall. So
they were eating thin spam back then, bro. They weren't eating they weren't drinking protein shakes. They were drinking raw eggs, and
there was no HGH and steroids back in those. But anyway, I can go on about this for all day, but let's move on to this weekend, mate, because we've got a huge women's fight with Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor. Did you see them sizing each other up on the Empire State Building? Did you see that?
Yeah, no, I'm really excited for this fight. I can't believe it's so close as well. Do you know what I love about it as well? It seems like New York's really embraced this fight. It's like, obviously MSG is such an iconic venue, but I feel like the rest of the cities kind of got involved, like the Empire State Building. I was reading earlier that it's going to light up with Irish tricolors. It's going to also be lit up with the Puerto Rican colors during the fight and stuff like that. So it's really amazing to see.
Yeah, this is an Eddie Hearn promoted fight. Let's get it right, man. I'm not gonna hate on Frank Warren, but if you compare the way they promote these fights, man, Eddie Hearn knows how to promote a fight. You got to give him some credit. As much as people don't like him, he's organizing this stuff. Do you know what I mean? He's got lights on the Empire State Building. He's doing stuff right. They're meeting at the top of the Empire State Building and having a face-off. I thought Amanda Serrano was a lot bigger, but they're actually I think she was wearing a Nike Air Maxes, so she had a bit of height, a bit of an inch on them, but they're kind of the same. Amanda Serrano looks a little bit bigger, like I was saying before, in terms of physically, stature. I think she's got more power on her. It's going to be really interesting. It's going to be a really interesting fight. I can see Amanda Serrano getting a knockout. Personally, I can see her getting a surprise win, or I can see Katie Taylor just winning on points and outpointing her if she's really smart the right way. What do you think?
No, I think my prediction is going to be a Katie Taylor by points. That's my prediction. I think Katie Taylor's a really well-schooled boxer. I think the way she throws a lot of different flurries, she's got a great punch selection. I think Amanda Serrano's definitely got the size advantage and probably the power advantage as well. But I just don't think she's going to be able to land anything clean enough until deep into the fight. And I think by that point, Katie would have wore her down to the point where it's not going to, I don't think her power is going to make a massive dent in Katie Taylor. I'll be honest with you. I think Katie Taylor's a class above her. Obviously, I could be wrong. I could be biased. Maybe that's what it is. But I do favor Katie Taylor in this fight, and I expect her to win by points. What I love as well is the fact that it's at MSG, and the Irish have actually got a mad history at MSG. So the Irish have sold out MSG for the last 100 years, and they're a massive part of not only New York City, but that particular fight venue. One of the guys we covered just recently, Michael Conlon, he's fought at the Garden 4 times. So it's Andy Lee. There's so many Irish fighters, you know, that have fought there. So I feel like it's almost. Sorry.
I said I was gonna say it's historic. It's kind of steeped in history, isn't it, with the Irish fighters and stuff, and they love going to that.
I know New York has like a massive Puerto Rican connection as well. But it just feels like almost like it's destined to be Katie Taylor's night.
I hope so, personally, from my point of view. But I'm just saying, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a kind of a surprise TKO or something like that. But yeah, that's going to be good. There's some couple of good fights on the undercard as well. I think Liam Smith is fighting.
It's beefy.
Yeah.
I've actually met Liam Smith. I met him at the Conor vs Wood fight. He was a sound bloke. But he's going to be fighting Jessie Vargas as well, which, to be honest, is a really, really good fight. I believe it's at welterweight. I know Liam Smith kind of fluctuates up and down those weights a little bit. But it would be great, obviously, see Liam Smith get it done. I think he's in great form as well at the moment. He's been, you know, he's had sort of like an up and down type of career, but he's always been in great fights. He's always been in fantastic fights. So,
I love those,
I expect him to.
Brothers. They always seem to do well. Those two brothers. Yeah. No, it'll be good.
It's mad when you get like a fighting family like that, isn't it? Like where it's just like all of the brothers are like professional, but it's like, is there something in the water? Is there something in the cereal where all of these...
If you think about it, if one of the brothers gets to like the older brother starts training professionally, you know, and he gets to a certain level, he's just going to start beating up his brothers. His brothers are all going to be growing up fighting each other, aren't they? Really have to get good. Same as like the Furies. There's so many Furies that, you know, they're bound to produce some decent fighters because they're all fighting each other all the time. So they're up doing it as well. So yeah, that's going to be a huge fight. And then obviously earlier to that is Shakur Stevenson in Las Vegas. I'd love to see, I think he's a huge talent. He's had like 60 amateur fights. He actually beat a lot of the kind of main guys now in the lightweight division. So it's going to be good to see him. I'm excited to watch him because I think he's a great talent. So I'll try and catch that before that as well. But yeah, no, huge fights this weekend. And we've got so many. It's like we're swamped with fights right now. We've got Canelo Bivol as well the week after. Cannot wait for that one. That's going to be a great fight as well. It's not just so set in stone that Canelo wins that either, because he's a lot bigger. He's a lot bigger, Bivol.
I'm really, really excited about that fight as well, because Bivol's like a top quality fighter. He's not just some some run-of-the-mill fighter. He's champed for a reason, and he's actually really hard-hitting, really technical as well. So much harder than
Makubu as well. He was supposed to fight Makubu, wasn't he? And that fell through.
Yeah. Bivol, that's the guy that Tony Bellew knocked out, isn't it? Makabu. At Goodison Park.
Yeah, that's the one.
That was a fucking great fight as well.
Yeah.
I think we pretty much covered everything.
Yeah, mate. All right. Well, cool. Well, that's been great talking to you again. That's been another episode of Another Round.